Hey everybody, Brooks Van Norman here, and I'm super excited today because I am here with Chris Keith, Senior Director of Sales at Zorus. Chris has an awesome story, and I'm really pumped to be chatting with you today, Chris. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Brooks. I really appreciate it. Excited to get down into the nitty gritty here and talk about how you and the system over here has helped us out a ton. So
Great. Well, let's get started. Let's start with some background on you. Can you describe what you guys do at Zorus Tech?
yeah, absolutely. We are a SaaS product. We are a cybersecurity company. So our software actually lives directly on your device, protects you from going to compromising websites. So it's actually kind of on the front end. We're taking a look at all the information that's coming and going from that device, making sure you don't click on links that could potentially be compromising, things along those lines. And then we actually have a second part of the software that helps with remote employee productivity and monitoring and things along those lines. So something that we've definitely seen some tailwinds with the recent pandemic and people working from home and there being that new hybrid working environment that we think is here to stay.
And your target customer is managed service providers, right?
Yeah, yeah. We're definitely B2B, but it's definitely niche, right? So we call it the channel, but we focused on managed service providers or MSPs, so that channel. For those of you that don't know what a managed service provider is, just think of it as an outsourced IT company for small to medium-sized businesses. So a lot of SMBs, they will need some sort of an IT, but they don't necessarily want to pay someone a massive salary and bring it all in house. They will outsource it to a local managed service provider and kind of get that IT excellence externally through that channel.
Got it. Got it.
Yep.
So very well put, outsourced IT.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, let's start from the beginning. What were you guys doing to generate action and build pipeline and get sales before we started working together?
Yeah, yeah. So it was relatively standard, right? Like a lot of B2B SaaS companies, a lot of just cold outreach, a handful of different ways you can achieve that, right? We had, cold emails that were going out, purchasing lists, reaching out to people that way. Of course, doing the event circuit, working through industry groups and things along those lines. But it was pretty standard, kind of across all those different channels.
Yeah. Cool. And let's talk about how you heard about us. How did that get started?
Yeah, so this is a great one. Our founder CTO, I was actually a victim. I guess we could call it a victim, right, Brooks? But you actually got him with one of your automated systems. So he you had reached out initially, and you grabbed his attention, and the I guess the conversation started at that particular point in time. Then I came on board a few months later and was kind of explained the system and everything that you have going on in the background and the level of support that you offered personally. And it just absolutely kind of made sense to work, this line of lead gen into kind of our machine, if you will, because it was just something that was helping us get right to decision makers right away. And that's something that, as we all know, is invaluable in sales and really kind of cuts down on that deal, on feeding the pipeline, number one, and then number two, closing the deal process.
Yeah.
So we were able to get you on board here, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Greg saying that the process plus the messaging is what got his attention.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one thing he still tells that story to this day, and I can attest for it. It works. We've seen it work now. Instead of being the victim, it's worked on our behalf now for quite a few months, and it's great. It's been a great relationship, and certainly valuable time and dollars spent.
Sweet. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I want to drill into that some more, but I have to
Yeah.
say I've never had it put quite that way before. of I've never really thought of my clients as potential victims. I would say at worst, they're prospects, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but victims. That's a good one. All
So it's
right.
something to remember anyway, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Are you my next victim? That's my
That's
that's my next headline. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's go back to what you're saying a minute ago. Can you describe what it's been like working together?
Yeah. So obviously the systems and the automations that you have built up and the back end, it takes out a lot of the manual labor that we as whether it's business development or SDRs, phone calls, messages, emails being sent. You've substantially cut down and kind of streamlined that process, which has been awesome. So the system and the automations that you have in place most definitely work. Something that means a lot to me, just obviously being in sales and being a sales leader, is finding the right people to partner with is everything. So when you do, when you have the ability, when you're lucky enough to make a good hire and bring someone onto your team that leans into what the company is all about, they understand and actually have a passion for the clientele and the people that you're working with, as well as the sales process, and then they're there to support you if and when you have questions or when things come up that you don't have the answer for. That's something that you frankly, Brooks, can't put a dollar figure on. And I would say that's what's been absolutely a pleasure working with you personally, is that support has absolutely already always been there. The expertise has been there, and then the product works. So that's kind of tough to beat, and something that's really important.
Cool. Cool. Thank you for that. Yeah. Product market fit, right?
That's
That's
right.
that's
Yeah,
that's what it is.
and then supporting, right?
Yeah. And support. Yeah, absolutely. That's those three pieces for sure. So let's talk about specifics. In what area have you and Zorus gained the most value from working together?
Yeah. So this one's interesting. We're lucky enough from a Zorus perspective. We have had the ability to use your tool from like with the C-suite, if you will. So a lot of our decision makers or the people that we work with, these MSPs, they are the owners of companies. They are CEOs or presidents.
Right.
We're luckily at a stage of our company, we're kind of in scrappy startup mode, right? So our current CEO, Ian McCord, has been able to work in some time in his schedule to actually have these meetings, get a feel for exactly what our MSP partners are looking for, just get a feel for the market at large. And we have been able to specifically use the Brooksfield technology to help fill his schedule, and certainly have decision makers at the highest level on our side interacting directly with decision makers at the highest level from a client facing or from a partner perspective as well. So that is where we have used the bulk or the majority of your tool. And I got to tell you, it has you know it has just been extremely a high ROI activity for us, because as on both sides of that equation, CEO of a vendor or a software company versus the clients that they're obviously, if they're decision makers on the other side of that too, time's valuable. So you want to be maximizing all the time that's spent between those two parties, and what you have kind of built up, and specifically where we've been using you, has worked really well for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Two questions I just want to drill into on that. Number one
Mhm.
is ROI.
Yeah.
How would you quantify it, or how would you describe it in terms of pipeline or volume of customers? So I'd love to know what you have experienced there.
Yeah. So I could talk specifically. We have been using you intermittently for the past, about 4 months or so, and we've booked over 150 meetings like with your technology. So that's like just right off the bat, that's a high number of meetings,
Yeah.
especially when again it's being used at the C-suite level. So this isn't all day every day, right? And again, like very tangible, great results. And then of that, I'd say, there almost a quarter of those, or potentially even more, we've actually kind of got into the pipeline on our side. So not only has the number of meetings been extremely high, but the people, just they've been well qualified, and we're reaching out to and connecting with an audience that is truly interested in kind of buying what we're selling, for lack of a better term, right? So um, extremely high ROI activities.
Cool.
Yep.
Why do you think the machine works so well? What do you, when you think about everything that's involved with it, what do you think are the elements that make it perform as well as it does?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it comes back to the owner, right? So I think like we talked about, you are someone that not only was able to find product market fit, and then I've doubled down and obviously made that better and better. And you've obviously supported folks like in my position and other software companies. But you're passionate about constantly improving it,
Yeah.
right? So the world that we live in, technology is advancing extremely quickly. Lots of things are going on, but it's clear that you have a passion and an expertise in the sales and outreach world. And I think that shows in the software and the system that you've put together, because it's evolved with those times.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, you owe yourself a debt of gratitude as well, because, as we've talked, the quality of lists is really important.
Mhm.
And you've worked really hard to make sure that those lists are of the highest quality so that your team is only working with the absolute target ideal customer profile,
Yep.
which is really important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's been a nice back and forth. And again, there's been certain instances where I don't come up with the best information, and you'll always be extremely understanding. Would say, Chris, perhaps maybe we go down this route or look for this sort of a thing instead. And that's what you need as well. Cutting right through high ROI activity and time spent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are on a pretty exciting path for sure. You've got very exciting technology. I know your team is growing
Mhm.
around the machine
Yep.
under your leadership, which is great. Um, and you're in a very enviable position post pandemic too, because you have a platform that does actually help businesses now that they're far more likely to be working remotely forever.
Mhm.
So, it's really a perfect storm. But
Yeah.
you've got to take action and you've got to have leadership. Yeah. So why do you think somebody watching this video should take action now and get going versus waiting?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a huge believer in like test, don't guess, right? So I feel a lot of folks, whether it's in business or whether it's in their personal lives, I always kind of joke around. It's like you want to take action, not get caught in motion. And I think with your technology, it's something that is extremely easy to implement. Like the barrier to entry, from a cost perspective, from an information, from a time spent perspective, is extremely, extremely low.
Yep.
Give it a shot. You're not going to be you're not going to be disappointed. And like I said, there's nothing else, at least that we've done on our side, that has yielded as many high quality results in such a short amount of time. Um, Test, don't guess. Give it a shot. You'll be happy.
Cool. Well, this is great, Chris. Thank you. If somebody watching this video wants to learn more about Chris Keith and what you guys are doing at Zorus Tech, where can they find you?
Yeah. So the quick URL for Zorus is just zorustech.com, ZORUSTECH.com. And then you could find me there or on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/it's Chris Keith. I'm floating around all over the place. So
Awesome. Chris, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks again for joining me on this call. Thank you for being a client. I really enjoy working with you guys, as you know, and I look forward to continued success.
yes, sir. Sounds great. Happy Monday, Brooks. I really appreciate it as well. And until next time.
You bet. See you later.